So as most of you know, Andrade returned to AEW television several weeks back after he was released from WWE before that. Now, he attacked Kenny Omega on his return, and it seemed like that was the angle, that was the return angle that they were going to use to kickstart him in AEW upon his return. That really felt like the big return, the big coming back party for Andrade. And since then, he's been completely absent from AEW TV, as I'm sure a lot of you know. He hasn't been seen. No one knows where he is. No one knows why he's been left off TV, because it was such a big angle that they shot with Kenny Omega that it makes no sense that you wouldn't capitalize on it with appearance after appearance after appearance en route to Wrestle Dream, which is happening this Saturday at the time of this recording. I'm recording it Friday, October 17th, and it is happening tomorrow. So with all that being said, it makes no sense that Andrade would be left off TV for this long, and it makes no sense that he would be left off Wrestle Dream. In fact, it was rumored and even reported that he was going to be on Wrestle Dream, that he was scheduled to be on Wrestle Dream. Same with Kota Ibushi, who got injured on last week's Collision. It was reported that he was going to be on Wrestle Dream. And obviously AEW's had to alter those plans pretty significantly. But the question is why? Why has AEW been forced to alter the plans specifically of Andrade? And that was originally the question I was going to answer here in this video. When I was developing this video, the question I was originally going to answer and what I was going to theorize was, where is Andrade? Where has he been? What's been happening? I was just going to throw around a bunch of theories that I've been seeing online and theories from my own head as to where he's been, why he's not on TV, and what the implications of it are. However, since I've been developing this video in the past few days, there have been a myriad of reports which have since come out about Andrade and where he's been. We have concrete answers about where he is and why he's off AEW TV. Okay, I am going to go through all these reports. It's a bit of a clown show. It's a bit of a circus. I have to say, these reports are some of the most decidedly crooked things I've ever seen in wrestling. Not the reporting. The reporting has been A1. It's been chef's kiss from Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful Select, Mike Johnson of PW Insider. They've done a great job. But the content of those reports is the issue. So I will hop into all of these reports. I'll break it down. I will dive into the implications of all of them, and I will bring them to you here as we read between the lines together to find out where Andrade's been and kind of make a larger point at the end about where wrestler contracts are and how we should fix them and what the implications of this situation are on a larger scale, because that is a broader question that deserves answering. So without further ado, let's hop into this. All right, the first report that we have here is from Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. The Wrestling Observer Radio. And it goes, WWE apparently sent AEW a cease and desist letter for putting Andrade on TV as he broke his 90-day non-compete clause after getting released. Brian Alvarez says, I was told that Andrade is not hurt. He didn't get himself fired. Apparently something is up involving his WWE non-compete. When he was fired, remember, we were told WWE didn't care. And then Dave said, that is what I've been hearing, was WWE sent a letter and AEW obviously didn't know. AEW obviously believed there was no non-compete. So one of two things happened here. Either Andrade lied to Tony Khan about his non-compete, or WWE intentionally let Andrade walk away thinking that there was no non-compete. I would lean towards the latter, although I think the former, where Andrade lies to Tony Khan about his non-compete, I think that's hilarious. And I think that's a world that is a very, very funny world to live in, to potentially live in. I don't know if that's what happened, though. WWE is obviously a very shady company at times. So it wouldn't shock me if it was their strategy to let Andrade leave the company thinking that there was no non-compete when there actually was, because of reports that we'll get to here in a second. So it doesn't end there. Stay with me. All right, next report we have comes from Mike Johnson of PW Insider. He says, the initial belief within WWE circles was that since Andrade was cut outright, he was not going to be paid his 90 days and was free to perform elsewhere. After he began making his appearances, WWE clarified to Andrade that even though he was not going to get the traditional 90 days pay following his release, he was still subject to the 90-day period where he cannot perform elsewhere. One WWE source said that the company was not going to have a system in place where someone could leave due to violating policies and then end up elsewhere the next day. It was described as a loophole WWE could not allow to exist. So basically, he will serve the 90 days, but he's not going to get paid. And normally, when wrestlers are released from WWE, they are independent contractors. And because of that, they get released, they get 90 days, but they also get paid for those 90 days. But in this situation, WWE is saying that because Andrade, quote, violated the wellness policy, because he did that, he doesn't get the pay. So that is obviously a very screwed up thing, because you and I both know that the wellness policy in WWE is very selectively enforced. It's not enforced consistently, because AJ Styles and Randy Orton, they're obviously on something. They're on performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, whatever you want to call them. We know that they're using something. And between marijuana and steroids, about half or more than half of the WWE roster could get cracked for this wellness violation. So do you see where I'm going with this? Like, if you're Andrade, he was obviously on performance-enhancing drugs. He was on PEDs. But they chose to enforce it against him because he wasn't convenient for them. He didn't work in their plans. They didn't have any creative for him. And so they just found a convenient reason to get him off their books. That was all it was. And so because of that, this has turned into a very messed up, screwed up situation, a very crooked, backwards situation that can really snowball into something much, much worse, which I'll get into a little bit later. All right, next report, which builds on top of the ones we've already looked at. It comes from Fightful Select. It says, new TKO contracts reportedly include a clause where if you are fired for clause or breach your contract, then you have a 1-year non-compete. Not just 90 days, which is how it's always been. It's always been 90 days, no compete. You can't sign anywhere else, but you get paid. This is 1 year, and he doesn't get paid for that year. Let's continue. It says, this is reportedly the issue that Andrade is facing. Fightful then managed to get hold of the wording that TKO uses in their contracts. I will put that up on screen. I will put up the wording that they used in the contract. I'm not going to read it out. It is very, very long. If you want to pause the video here and read it yourself and see what it says, it's pretty interesting. So I do recommend you do that. But yeah, that is kind of where the TKO contracts stand, is that it's not just 90 days. It is now standard to have a 1-year non-compete clause if you breach your contract or if you are fired for cause. So we've broken down the reports that I kind of want to get to. TKO contracts are now kind of standardized with this 1-year non-compete clause. They now all have them. If you are fired for cause, if you violate your contract in any way, 1-year non-compete. And it used to be 90 days. Now it's 1 year. The new TKO contracts that they have in place. That's just how it works. That's what they have in place. And in the case of Andrade, he is an example of something that could represent a larger trend going forward. So if you are any one of the wrestlers in WWE, any one of the maybe 70 or 80% of the wrestlers in WWE that currently use, let's say, marijuana or steroids, which is a lot of the wrestlers in WWE, a lot of them are on some of that, you could be subject to this. You could be cracked for a wellness violation. The problem is, like I said earlier, they only enforce it selectively. They don't do it to a consistent degree. They do it whenever they please. They pick and choose who they want to enforce it against. Obviously, they're not going to enforce it against AJ Styles or Randy Orton because they are very valued and they always have some creative for them. But people like Andrade, they don't have anything for him. And it's a very convenient reason to get someone like him off of their books. And so this could represent a trend going forward where if you're WWE and you're as crooked as WWE is at times, you obviously, it might be in your best interest to take some of the wrestlers that, let's say, could be categorized as violating that wellness policy. And you could kind of spin it to say, well, you violated the wellness policy and we're not using you and we have nothing for you. Let's just release you. And it's a 1-year non-compete because you were released with cause. You violated the wellness policy. So goodbye. And then from there, they can't sign anywhere for a year. And AEW can't get them, which significantly cuts off the talent supply and talent flow to AEW, which is one of WWE's main motivators in everything they do. One of the main things that motivates WWE is trying to poke and prod at everything AEW does. They don't want them to get a leg up. They never want AEW to have an advantage, and obviously it's understandable, their competition. But it's to a petty degree. And this is why WWE ID was created. They wanted to control the independent wrestling talent pool. They wanted to kind of have a stranglehold on that. And obviously that's WWID program is where it's at, and that's another story. But this is another example of them potentially trying to cut off that talent flow to AEW. They can take any wrestler who they might be able to bend the rules for and say, you're violating the wellness policy, let's get rid of you. 1 year non-compete, you can't sign with AEW. 1 year of your career completely stolen from you. Sorry, that's just how it works. That's their goal. That's what they're trying to do. At least to me, that's how I've interpreted it. And those are the implications of all of this, to me at least. Obviously, this is very dystopian in my opinion. This is very drastic, extreme. It's very bad for these wrestlers to have an entire year of their career stolen from them, taken from them, because they were on performance-enhancing drugs, which most of the roster is on. A lot of the roster is on PEDs to some extent. And the fact that it's being selectively enforced is even worse. So this could represent a very worrying trend for WWE. And it could disincentivize some people from signing with WWE. That wouldn't shock me if WWE did start to trend in this direction of kind of using up talents and spitting them out. If that's what they did, if they started to do what I just described, then it wouldn't shock me if people were a lot more hesitant to sign with WWE than they already are. Because this is no reason to sign. Everything I just said is no reason to sign with WWE. Why would you sign with WWE when you know that they can find any reason to get rid of you and take an entire year off their career? I mean, there's no reason. There's no reason. That's definitely not a motivator. It's not an incentive at all. And it's very harmful. So how do we fix this? How do we kind of combat this? Where do we go from here? Well, I can tell you this. WWE's not going to win this. They will not get over on AEW. They will not get over on Andrade, on these wrestlers. They will not be able to do this. Because straight up holding someone hostage, taking a year of their career and not paying them, telling them you can't work anywhere, but we're not going to pay you, that's illegal. That's blatantly illegal. You cannot do that, and it won't hold up in the court of law, and it's already not holding up in the court of public opinion. So they can't do this. They won't be able to do this. But the more worrying part is that this is where we're at with WWE. This is what they're resorting to. These are the links that they're going to cut off talent from AEW and to sabotage their own wrestlers as they exit the company. That's the most worrying part, and that's the most depressing part, if I'm completely and brutally honest. So what needs to happen on this trend to kind of reverse what we've seen here and everything I've gone through in this video? Well, I think there needs to be drastic reformation and drastic changes made to the way wrestlers would negotiate their contracts. I really do. Now, in the 1980s, Jesse Ventura tried to get a wrestlers union together. He thought it would be in his best interest and in the wrestlers' best interest, and it is. But Hulk Hogan, being such a Vince's boy, he said, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to let that happen. Doesn't work for me, brother. And shot that down. And he was one of the main driving forces behind a wrestlers union not forming. And let me tell you, a wrestlers union would be the perfect way to combat something like this. A union would not let this stand. They just wouldn't. And something like that, a union or a change to the way that wrestlers' contracts are negotiated and structured, needs to happen. Wrestlers cannot just be independent contractors who don't get full benefits. They need to be full employees who get full benefits and who aren't having an entire year of their career stolen from them, because that is just ethically, morally wrong on so many different levels. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It is atrocious from WWE. Truly. Very, very worrying things happening in WWE with Andrade, with his contracts. It's going to get resolved, okay? Everyone's saying that Andrade is cooked and Andrade is not going to work for AEW for another year and that his career is being taken away from him. I don't think they quite understand the situation. Like, obviously this is bad, but it's not too bad that a court won't stand against it. I think a judge absolutely will rule against this. Because it's blatantly illegal. You cannot do this. There's no way this is legal. I don't care that it's a contract. I don't care that it's in the fine print or whatever. it's illegal. This shouldn't be allowed to stand, and it won't stand. Andrade will work for AEW. WWE will not win this battle with Andrade, and it's not going to happen. So, yeah, it's disgusting. It's awful. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been going for about 20 minutes here. A lot to say on this topic for sure. A lot to say. Please do leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear what you have to say about all this. How do you feel about Andrade being held up by WWE? Kind of having nearly maybe a year taken off his career if a court wasn't going to stand against this. How do you feel about all that? Where are you standing with this? Please do leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. It would help my channel get seen by more people. It would help this video get seen by more people. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, guys, I'll see you.